As always, it's so important to appreciate the difference between finding inspiration and simply copying something. The latter we never ever want to do as designers because it undermines the whole point of someone hiring us to create something unique for them. Now, the exception to that is this course, where you're free to copy me as much as you'd like in order to learn along the way. So our goal here is to scope out what others have done, see which approaches may have worked for them, and come up with ideas that we can put our own spin and our own customization on. There's an expression, one good idea leads to another, and that's so true. So let's try to find some good ideas. So how can we do this in a productive, constructive way? Well, here are some elements you can try to analyze as you look through examples. Why does this work so well? Which elements do you like about it? Are there techniques you could use in a different way? So I'm sure I don't have to teach you where to find inspiration. You can find inspiration all around us. If you don't want to leave even your home or your office, you can of course just make a Google search. That's what we're going to have a look through. You could use Pinterest. You could use Behance. You'll find great examples any of those places. Of course, if you're happy to go on a little field trip, actually go to a store and look, particularly at boutique beauty or luxury stores. Have a look at what they actually choose to stock in that shop, and that can be really insightful as to what sells, what are the trends. That can be a really good way of finding inspiration for examples that work. Sometimes what we'll pull up when we do a search on social media or Google, it can just be what's ranked well with SEO or keywords. So use the method you prefer. But I'm going to have a little look through here, and we're going to just grab and single out anything that catches our eye. This is quite interesting. So they've actually done a wrap. This would be a label, I'm guessing, that's wrapped around this votive, and they've used kind of an animal print. So that's a lot louder than the kind of thing I would often design, but that's interesting to see. This is something that looks very rich from the use of kind of a champagne gold. It's got a little wax stamp on it. That's quite a unique touch. Probably a little bit beyond the scope of this class, but that's always something you could consider. This one's super minimalist. And remember, we're trying to analyze when we find something we like, what is it about it we like? So on this one, I think it's the simplicity. Simple text, the left alignment is quite cool. And because there are so few elements, it's as if it's whispering to you, where the D&G candle with the animal print is really screaming, look at me. So both kind of work, and it's good practice to look through a mixed range of examples like this and just see what catches your eye and try to analyze why it's caught your eye. I do quite like this as well. This is really nice. I hope this is coming up big enough. So I'm sharing quite a large screen, so if you're viewing this on an iPad, apologies if you're struggling to see some of the detail. But we're basically looking for examples, and we want ideas, techniques, elements that we might imitate. So this one, I think having a label stuck onto the glass votive works really well, but giving that label a border, that's quite a nice touch. Everything's center aligned, just nice and clean and neat. That's quite a nice idea here. Logo type is sideways. The other text is upright. It's quite interesting. A label that's at a different orientation. That's really eye-catching. Maybe it was something you'd love or hate, but that's quite interesting. And they've got almost as if someone's deliberately smeared a paintbrush, and it stretches from the top all the way down to the front face. That's quite interesting. So maybe in principle, if you have artwork, elements you're using, can you carry them not just on one face, but if you are printing on more than one side, can you use that to your advantage? Could you carry something across to make it feel more dynamic? That's quite a nice touch. I find myself attracted to just a simple type, especially where it's gold on black. For me, it really screams luxury, and it feels quite elegant. Let's have a look on Pinterest. So that's a nice one, and that kind of subtle variation there. So the label, it's black, but it's got a matte texture, and the votive itself, it's black, but it's like jet black with a more reflective texture. But just that subtle difference between the two is really nice touch. So maybe that's something to bear in mind, kind of subtle differences, maybe just in texture. That's something you could certainly pull across when you come to your own version. This one I'm drawn to as well, and that's very nice. And coming up with a sticker that's kind of gold with the detail of the text cut out of it, I really like that. That's actually a concept I've used in the past. I know that works well. So again, there's a technique. We wouldn't copy this. We wouldn't take the same typeface, do the same border, it's not about that. But to take an idea and think, wow, that's really cool. What happens if I put my own spin on this? And you can see here, this is another version. It's a shame it's a little bit low res, but that's actually got, it looks like a textured gold. So already when you're kind of feeding yourself with good ideas, one idea sparks another, and it kind of lets your imagination start to build momentum. You start to think how you might use or improve things. Let's jump across to Behance. And as you're doing this for yourself, grab and maybe save, just, right click, save image, some examples, or take a screenshot if you're on a tablet or a mobile, and just create a little collection maybe of inspiration, not to copy, but to spark ideas that you can refer back to if you found yourself getting stuck. This is different. So we've got our logo here, but they've used a pattern. They've actually not carried that pattern across all the faces of a box, but you kind of get the idea. Packaging for a luxury logo can be quite a decorative, quite a detailed thing, and they've done that here. That face isn't serving any practical purpose, it's just decorative. So you can have a lot of fun. I like minimalism, but sometimes it's good fun to design something with a little more complexity and a little more detail, as long as it's done tastefully. So spend a little time when you're feeling nice and inspired and you've got some ideas that perhaps you might like to try out. Join me in our next lesson where we'll select the packaging we're going to use.